Hey,
Hi, and welcome to our new episode at Mindset Mastery Podcast. We have an amazing guest today, Mr. John Chappelear. How are you, Mr. John?
I'm very well. How are you doing today?
All great. Actually, Mr. John have a long journey in with HR and the management team and the change. So could you tell us a little bit about your journey, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I guess we don't need to stress he's had a long history, because if you look at me, you would tell everything's been long. It's been a long,
Yeah, I can
but
tell that.
yeah, well, I
Old
can't
is
do anything.
gold.
I
Old is
can't do
gold.
anything. I was actually doing, I went to Jiddaria to a festival, and I met a person who wanted me to talk, who had looked me up, and he looked at me and he went, "How long ago were your pictures taken?" I was like, "Hey, wait a minute." Um, I started out, I grew up in Washington, D.C.
Hmm.
And I think from a young age, my father ran a business. And so I think from a young age, I was sort of expected to take over the business. And so I was taught a lot about leadership and connection and engagement and culture and these kinds of things. The downside, I just wrote about this like 2 weeks ago. The downside is he was not a good influence. His ideas were very short term. Work people really hard. If they want more money, you fire them and get more people for less money. You can make promises, but whether you keep them or not is not important. So once I got to the point where I could make my own decisions as to whether I wanted to stay working there or move on, I decided I needed to move on, because I wanted to set up a company based on the principles that I thought were important. The concepts of engagement and connection,
Hmm.
inclusion, and I just didn't see that. I mean, I love my father, but I did not like the way he was running his business. So I decided to leave and start my own company. So over years, I built 5 companies in the Washington, D.C. area, excuse me, and built them to substantial size. Usually at some point would sell them and move and start another business. I was talking to you earlier about the one my daughter worked in. That was the third business I was working at. I started. Um, and I've sort of gone through the whole gamut of product distribution, service business,
Hmm.
consulting businesses. So for-profit businesses, not-for-profit businesses. So I understand business in general, and
Hmm.
it's really very helpful for me, especially now with doing consulting and engaging with other companies, trying to help them find a path that allows them to live their passion.
What was making just those decisions, moving from one field to another? Was just looking for your passion, or just looking what you really want, or
Yeah,
what a person should ask himself just to be passionate of what he's doing?
I think you should ask yourself, because you understand, we were talking about that before. You have something that's a wonderful position, but it's not your heart. So it does take some soul searching. It does take some time in prayer or in meditation to sort of ask those questions of yourself. Is this the path that brings me joy? Not, is this the path that makes me money? Because one of the things I used to teach about was, how long ago was your last raise in money? And people would tell me different amounts and different distance. And I said, and how long were you motivated by that raise? 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
That's it.
you know, and then all of a sudden it's just your salary, or it's just your bonus, or whatever it is. And it becomes very much the same as it always was. But if you're working for your passion changes the way in which you relate to your business. And so that's what I wrote the Daily Six about. The Daily Six was designed to change you from focusing on success alone, which is
Mhm.
what pretty much I was focused on the first 15 or 20 years of my career, to being significant, not just successful. And significant means contributing to the success of others, and that success is on any level it might be for them, whether it's personal or professional or whatever it is. because I was very successful, but I was not necessarily very significant until I started practicing these principles. I ended up working too much. I ended up getting divorced. I didn't see my children very often.
Mhm.
Because I was too busy. I was just too busy doing all of this stuff out here to pay attention to my family, which was going on back here in the background.
Which is really, I'm meeting lots of people that they don't have that balance in their life.
Right.
Even they don't have time to just sit with themselves, ask them what do they really want. And once
Right.
you have that, just I want to say that freedom or that luxury of time,
Right.
you start enjoying your life much better, even your social life, your family life.
Right.
More than that, just if every day, which everyone should be, just waking every day inspired, motivated, looking for what are his goals and looking, working on it. And the third one and most important thing is how you can surround yourself with those
Mm.
successful people, productive,
Yes.
that they see
Yes.
greatness in you. So once you start thinking in that perspective and that attitude to the world, everything starts to change. And here I would
Yeah.
like to just tell me more about the Daily Six program, please.
Sure. Sure. Well, it sort of grew out of the concept of I'm doing really well by normal standards. I'm doing,
Uh-huh.
I've got cars and houses and, you know,
Yes.
lovely family and all this other stuff. But inside, it really wasn't very much. It was pretending. They call it what do they call it these days? Imposter syndrome. It's an imposter syndrome because I really wasn't that person.
Mhm.
I was enjoying the position and the responsibility and the power that goes along with that kind of a thing, but it really wasn't bringing me much in the way of joy. So
Mhm.
I sat down and figured out what it was that would help me change the way I was feeling. And so I was very driven very much by ego in those days rather than by humility. So the first thing I had to do was become willing to change the way in which I was thinking and feeling and living. And that was hard because I was sort of I already know the answers, don't need to teach me anything. I've already had plenty of school, I've already run companies. I got all the knowledge I need until I realized that, I can't really fix this with this. I have to find something. You did this
Yeah,
with Proctor,
it's
and
the
you have
inside
to
job.
put information in, new information, find new teachers, teach us new lessons. And you have to be willing to listen, not just hear it, but listen and try to make the changes. And so that was where everything begins. It begins with willingness. And then how do I
Yes.
get my path? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to tell something that willingness, it's something really deep inside of you.
Yes.
But it should be based on a deep desire that I want to change. I don't want to stay in the comfort zone. I have
Right.
to just be aware that I have an issue and
Right.
just be interested in making this change. I want this deep desire and I want to expect the better results than what I'm having. I'm not satisfied from what I'm getting. That's why I must change.
Right.
So willingness, it's something really deep inside.
Yes.
But you
Yeah.
have to know how things inside works because if you don't know how it works, because we are conditioned from school, just remember this lesson and come and we'll have that exam and that's it. That's the records that you'll get. That's you. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. And
Absolutely.
even you go to the work, your sales, whatever you're doing in sales, that's you. It's not. We have like this infinite potential within them, which is locked potential that it needs to be released to the surface.
It
But you need
does.
this willingness.
And this is one of the reasons. Oh, I don't have it with me. I must have taken it off this morning when I took a shower. I have a bracelet that I wear. It's a little silicone bracelet, and it says willingness on it. And so for me, what I've always done is when I'm working with people, I say, find something. For me, it's the bracelet. I've had people put little dots or marks on their watches. I've had people put
Mhm.
little dots and marks on their phones. The idea is, what is your intention? And that's where quiet time comes in. What is your intention today in that quiet moment or two or three in
Mhm.
meditation or in prayer? What is my intention? I'm intending to be kind. I'm intending to be more empathetic.
Mhm.
Today, I intend to be a positive and inclusive leader. whatever it is you decide, and the bracelet or the dot or the something that continues to remind you as you look at it or see it during the day, it continues to bring that commitment up to the front of your mind. Because what happens is you make these commitments of intention, and the reason that good intentions just don't really happen, because what happens is the real world comes slamming in and hits us right in the face when we come out of our quiet time and we end up back in our cars going to work or get on the phone and start dealing with problems. But if you have something that can help restore that thought, oh yes, today, I was going to be inclusive. I was going to be more committed to an emotional connection to my coworkers. It helps you keep that memory alive. And so that's 1 and 2 of the daily 6. 3 is be focused on the service to others. Because the thing I have learned is service to others opens up your heart and your mind. If you're focusing not simply on me, but on others, it changes the way in which you relate to those people. If your idea is to try and help, and this is where organizational change comes, it's helping teach the team to look out for the success of each other, not just for yourself. The first workshop I did at King Faisal 20 years ago had to do with changing the thinking of the leadership, which was stop thinking about your department and start thinking about the organization as a whole. You know, it's not helpful if your department is doing very well, but 2 or 3 other departments are failing. You know, you have to all be together to move the whole organization forward. And so the idea was, how do I stop thinking departmentally and start thinking organizationally?
That's really an amazing lesson, is how to keep and leave the impression of increase with everyone I contact. Everyone you contact, you must leave. This is a law. It's a universe law that once you start having this attitude and showing, it's not something that pretend or flattering. No, it's just something honest. Be authentic. That showing the greatness in others, because it's a law. It will, this energy that whatever you're sending, it will return back to the origin. So whatever you're sending, if you're sending positive, you will return that positive with the same amount. That's why I would tell that everyone should leave this impression of increase and think of others, because this is the world how it was. It just, you have to give, and then you'll get. But if you think just getting from the need, it's a very limited way of thinking and very limited way of living that life.
I agree 100%. The issue for me, especially in healthcare, is that with an education too. I worked at King Fahd University a little bit. People who give, tendency to give, like nurses, tend to give too much. When I started writing the book, I didn't even think about that, because I was a taker. So I started figuring out how I could stop taking quite so much. But there are also people who give too much until they're exhausted mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because they won't take the time to rebuild themselves. And so that same quiet time, a break, walk around the building, some quiet, thoughtful reflection, or in your next prayer time, take a few seconds extra and remind yourself of your intention. And people who tend to be in positions where giving is key, teachers, nurses, firefighters, police, these are people who are out there trying to help us. And that's their primary job. But very seldom do they get a chance. I work with the police department trying to get them to understand the value of meditation. It was, we don't do that. We don't do that stuff here. But yet, within 6 months, it was amazing. The whole dynamic of the organization had changed because it was more peaceful. And in being more peaceful, it allowed more thoughts to come in. It wasn't always protection and demanding. It was thoughtful reflection and asking. You know, I said, if you want, this is a big issue with older workers and younger workers. The older workers just want to tell the younger workers what to do. And you were saying this before, and the younger workers want to know why.
Why? Yes.
Like, why? You know, not just what or how, but why? Why am I doing this? And an older worker will go, nobody told me, so
Just
just
do it.
get to work. That's right. So it's a matter of you have to change the way in which you're relating, because generational changes are huge. I mean, people who are my age just kind of went to work, and you worked until you stopped working. And there wasn't any real, you just did what was in front of you and kept plodding forward. Younger workers want to know why this is, and they want to think about ways to do it better. They want to have some requests to give them input on ways to improve things. And when I'm doing an organizational change idea, the idea of communication and open, emotionally connected communication.
Yeah, and here comes the love values and the
Yeah.
forgiveness.
Yes.
To tell you the truth, I've always, my mom telling me that forgiveness and love. But once you start understanding and knowing the value, once you're giving it from deep from your heart,
Mm-hmm.
believe me, everything starts to change. Once you
Absolutely.
just don't be attached to anything, including your kids, just give love. And once you're giving love, I think you're giving that value. You want them to grow, you want them to succeed, and that's love and that's forgiveness. Don't keep
Right.
anything in your heart or it's against someone because it's
Right.
burning yourself.
Right.
You're not affecting them at all.
No, you are not. No, you're not. I mean, this is the reason that love and forgiveness, I have love and forgiveness in the Daily Six as one item, because to me, they're two sides of the same coin, love and forgiveness. If you're loving, then you're already forgiving. If you're forgiving, then you tend to be loving. And one of the things, it was interesting, this was 10 years ago or so, and I was talking to somebody
Mhm.
um, in Saudi, I think it was in Jeddah, but we were talking about love and forgiveness, and they said, well, that, we can't put that into an organization. I said, well, the definition that I use of love is understanding the needs of others and treating those needs as important as my own.
You know,
That,
66 times love was written in Quran. 66 times. I've seen that in different figures that it's there.
yeah,
And this is what we need to go back to our humanity, to go back to our fundamentals, to our basics. We should love each other.
right. It's just a matter of becoming comfortable with that. I mean, what he was saying, the consultant earlier who was asking me, well, this is just not something that people are going to be comfortable with. I said, there's a whole lot of different ways in which you can love someone. Thinking about their needs and treating their needs important, that means your focus is changing. And how many times do you hear in an organization, they want more engagement? I want more engagement with my people. Well, the difference between a couple and a couple who is engaged, the only difference is emotion. The engaged couple has a strong emotion. Just the couple is not.
Yeah, at the
So
same
if
frequency, they are in harmony with that.
exactly. So if you want that in your organization, you've got to include a level of emotion, which I can remember when I was younger. It was like, you leave your emotions at the front door. Don't bring
Yes,
your emotions in here. Whatever's going on out there, we don't really care about. But the reality is,
it's not
if
like
you
that.
don't deal with that, your people are working at a level of productivity that is so low. This is where finally they've started paying attention to disengagement and levels of people who are not working effectively or even working well at their
Yes.
jobs because they're not connected to the value. They don't understand the value of what they're contributing. So they take it as it's not a big deal. But
This
if
is
people begin to see how important they can be, and that can only come from the leadership. The leadership has to know how to make sure that they're expressing the importance to others, and what they contribute back to make them feel valued. And as they begin to increase their value, they
Mhm.
begin to increase their productivity. And it really is amazing how doing something that we were always told not to do, but doing something different will change the way in which your whole organization works.
Yeah, that's really a necessity because what you said, that leave your emotions outside. I agree 100% with you. Just know it must be involved. You must be emotionally involved with the goals of the company, with the
Right,
goals that they are setting as a team. You're not a group of work. You're a team.
right,
You have to be in harmony with your team. You have to just be just working together. It's not about just be like, you have to concentrate and be in harmony with that goal. You cannot
Yes.
just be, okay, I'm giving that, I'm doing my job, I'm leaving. It's not
I'm
like
out.
that. No,
Yeah.
you have to be more having this confidence and just give everything you have. And
Yes,
at the
you do.
same
And
time, yes, tell me.
no, I was just going to say, and if you do this, leave it at the door right routine is usually means the person is not saying anything, but still feeling the problems that they
Yes.
were concerned about before they came to work. If you have a team, as you were talking about, that's emotionally engaged, they'll notice that their teammate, there's something the matter with the teammate, something bothering. And you've grown close enough where you feel safe enough to share what that issue is. Well, my kid is
Yeah.
really sick and I don't know what to do, or my wife's unhappy, or my mother is dying, or whatever it might be. But the emotional connection of the team is willing to listen and be empathetic to those needs, allowing that person to let go of those issues and work at 100% productivity. But you can't do it by trying to get people to push their emotions down. It just doesn't work.
Well, you need that to be understanding person. You have to take care of those details. You have to be that pleasant personality so you can understand what's going on. Just listen to them and be responsible about everything going on. Just listen to them. And people loves to listen for the person who really know that they could help them.
Right. Well, listening is, I usually say listening is the only thing that I can give you that is unique to me, is my time. That's the only thing. And so if I want you to feel more valued, when you're talking, I need to absolutely pay attention and listen. I can't be distracted over here with my computer. I can't be checking my emails on my phone. I have to be focused on you and your needs to give you a sense of value. He's dismissing me because he's working on this over here, or she's dismissing me because she's doing this over here. So full focus and listening. I have a friend who says, listen with your ears and with your heart, so that you not only hear the information, but you hear the emotion behind the information. And it helps you change the way in which you relate. I have dozens of stories over time where people have picked up the concept like you were talking about. Once you get to this point, all of a sudden everything, the clarity becomes so easy. If I work on teaching meditation to people, if I can get people to do 30 seconds of meditation, just sit quietly and breathe. That's it. Don't do anything else. I have never had anybody come back to me later and say, this was a complete waste of time. They go, oh, I never had any sense of being this peaceful before. I did 30 seconds, but then the next thing I know, I'm doing a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because it feels so good. I want to do more of it. And this is the issue associated with success in an organization and people working hard. Once people feel valued, because most of the times they've never felt valued. You get people feeling valued at work, their productivity will amaze you. Productivity goes up, absenteeism goes down, turnover goes down. These are all things that we fight against all the time, and all we have to do is make people feel valued at what they're doing.
That's really amazing. And how could you link the gratitude with the Daily Six program in your Daily Six program?
How can I link what with the Daily Six?
The gratitude.
Oh, the gratitude. Well, six, that's number 5 on the Daily Six,
Yes.
is gratitude. The thing that I say about gratitude is to be grateful for all things at all times. There's good things and bad things. It's easy to be grateful for a big raise or a new car or a beautiful wife or wonderful children. But, having a flat tire on the side of the road is, why am I grateful for this? And I've had some really horrible things happen to me over my career. And I've had friends say, just be grateful. There's a product, there's a process that people think about these days. It's called non-duality, which means it's not good or bad, right or wrong. It's not a good or bad decision. It's just a decision. It's not a good or bad experience. It's just an experience. which takes away all the judgment and anger and frustrations that are associated with that. And I think that what happens with gratitude is it teaches us how to be stronger and more effective in our character and in our willingness to honor other people. It also, gratitude for me also helps me be more mindful. It brings me right into the present moment. If I'm being grateful for this conversation, or I'm grateful for this interaction, I'm grateful to be talking to you today. So, as we sort of move through the day, if we can maintain a sense of gratitude, this sort of triggers everything else. It triggers the love, the forgiveness, the willingness. It triggers all of that, and it helps keep that intention alive as you go through the day. So to me, being grateful is, I think, is the sort of the flavor of a good life is to be grateful for it.
Yeah, it will just attain a great attitude, perspective to the life, how you're looking to the life. For everything, there's a lot of polarity. For every positive, there's a negative. So, and for every negative, there's a positive. If you have like any situation in front of you, let's say if you're solution seeker, you just look for the positive in it, whatever is the issue, is it? So it's all about your attitude. And once you have that great attitude, having this daily practice of gratitude, you just be strengthen that attitude and just looking always for the positive in whatever you're having.
Right.
So I would.
Do you remember I said earlier, the intention of whether you put a dot on your watch or your phone or whatever it might be? This is how when you begin these processes.
I love to start my day with gratitude.
Well, you set that intention in the morning in quiet time, prayer
every day. Yeah.
I want to be today. I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to find 5 things to be grateful for today, whether it's good or bad. I want to be grateful.
Even we could be grateful for the things that we are going to achieve.
Sure.
I would love to make it in the present tense, that I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm doing that. I did that. So if you make it in this way you are feeding because it's time where you are meditation, and it's time where you're lasering your thoughts, and you're concentrating and focusing. And it's the best time you are feeding your subconscious mind, whereas the 98% of your behaviors are coming from there. So once you're feeding your subconscious mind with those, it will become not only a dream, it will become a desire that you are working toward it.
Right. And then that desire will be the driver of your actions. Which will then end with your results. I mean, your
100%.
thoughts become your beliefs become your, so it's a process of watching what goes on. I wrote an article once called, there is no such thing as idle thoughts. Your thoughts is what drives everything. And if you think of yourself as, I'm not good with technology, or I really don't know, I don't have a sense of direction. I get lost all the time. If you're sort of what you're saying to yourself is what you're ingraining in your belief system. And so I'm sure through your processes, you've learned the concepts of self-talk, where you sort of remind yourself, I am a loving husband. I am an excellent.
This is working on the self-image even. Yeah.
It's continuous
deep inside
self-evaluation. And so, and again, it's what you were saying earlier, which is it's keeping it in the present moment. It's not, I hope to be a nice person soon.
Why keeping in the present moment? Because our subconscious mind is always accepting. It never rejects. So whatever you impress, it must be expressed. That's why we have that ability on the conscious level to accept and reject thoughts. So once you are accepting those gratitude thoughts and this thankful thoughts and all those willingness and helping others and the love and the forgiveness and feeding it to the subconscious mind, it become a habit. Habitually you're doing it. It will become a successful habit. That's why we have those moments that we should be emotionally involved, because our thoughts moves our feelings, and our feelings let us behave.
Right.
Whatever we are doing, which is our actions.
Right. And you have to be willing to be uncomfortable, because as most people begin this
100%.
process, they're going to be uncomfortable with this process because they've never been forgiving, or they've never been, or they've done prayer,
This
but
is
they've never
normal.
done
This is normal.
meditation. So
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable. All new behavior is uncomfortable, even if it's really good for you. You know, exercise, diet, you know, vitamins. These are things that, you know, whether or not you have ever done this before, if you're doing it again or you're starting over, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, because if you're staying in the comfort zone, doing the same thing, having the same thoughts, having the same feelings, you'll have the same actions, same results.
Right.
So what should I do? Start from the beginning. Start with the different thoughts, change your thoughts, start accepting and rejecting, accepting the thoughts that are aligned with your goals, and reject anything else.
Right.
And be emotionally involved with those thoughts. Not just
Right.
concentrate on, give it a serious thought, not just I thought about it and that's it. No, you have to be keeping thinking and deep inside you, just to be emotionally involved with that. Then automatically your emotions will create a different vibration of the body, and the vibration will give you a different action outside of the
It'll
physical
take you
world.
in a new direction. It will take you in a new direction. And the thing is, it will take you in a direction you may not have even realized you were going to go in. And that's the reason I do what I do today. I assumed I would be doing the same thing at my age that I was doing when I was 30 or 40. And it wasn't until I got to about 40 that I realized this is not a path I want to be on. This is not the way in which I want to live my life. So I've been able to, gratefully, over time, like you said, to ingrain these other thoughts and behaviors, so that at least most of the time, I can be the kind of person that I'd like to be.
Yeah.
And that gives me a tremendous sense of satisfaction. It used to give me pride, but now it gives me gratitude.
Yeah, because once you understand yourself and know how we think, feel, and act,
Mm,
and if you're not satisfied from your results, you know what to change. You know what's wrong. It's inside of you. It's what
right,
are you emotionally involved with? What is your
right,
self-image? What is your attitude? What's your perspective of the world? How you are
right.
using your five senses? Are you using against you, or just living a limited life, or just you're using those six mental higher faculties. So it's all depends on you. Don't blame the
Yeah,
economic, don't blame the family, don't blame the business, don't blame anything. Just blame yourself. If you
yes,
don't be willing to change, going out from your comfort zone, taking that decision based on your deep desire, be committed to that, you'll stay wherever you are. You have to step out, take action, go out
right,
from your bondage zone. That's the comfort zone. Go to the freedom, which is you have to overcome the fear. How to overcome it? Just go do the things that makes you fear.
right. It's interesting because action is number 6,
Yeah,
because great concepts are just great concepts. Love is a great concept, but you have to actually do something to create the change. And the
100%.
thing that I learned about fear is fear, you know, in perspective. When you see things that are far away, they're small, and as they get closer, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Fear is the other way. When you're not facing it and it's far away, it seems huge, gigantic, cannot get over that, cannot deal with this. But as you're willing to get closer to this, as you move closer and keep it in your mind, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller until you finally facing your fear and realize there's really nothing here, and you just keep on moving. So it's facing the fears is the hardest component, because we're uncomfortable with that. We know it's like facing my fears. Oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. I just want to run away.
It's back to the what we're thinking about. It's all about the
Right,
thoughts.
right.
Once you
Everything
understand,
is in here. If you
yeah,
want things to change,
yeah,
want things
just
to change out here,
yeah,
this is what you need to fix them.
from
Not out
inside,
here,
yeah.
but in here. So
Just once you have that feeling, any fear feeling or doubt and worry, just ask yourself what I am thinking about, what are my thoughts, what I am emotionally involved with. And
right.
you can do the opposite to it. Just step out and act on it.
Right. And it's like conversations like this. I'm sure when I hang up with you, my wife's going to go, that sounded really good. Are you doing all of these things that you're supposed to be doing? Are you doing them? And, you know, when you're working on your own, you're working from home, I feel much more connected when I'm working in the field with other people than I do. You know, I go through my normal process in the morning, but it's different when you're able to share this energy with other people. Because for me, when I share the energy, it grows. It doesn't just stay the same or wear out. But in this conversation with you, that's exactly what I feel. I feel much more energized now than I did at the beginning of our conversation.
You know, because once you listen to something, you just learn maybe 25%. If you just listen and do it, you'll be 50%. But if you listen, do it, and you just act and teach it to others, you'll be 100% doing it right. That's why it's not enough to be listening to this podcast. It's not enough to just say, oh, I know that. That's why we have that gap between knowing and doing. Everyone knows that. So why we're not getting the results? Just think about it. It's all about you. Think about your thoughts. What are you thinking about? What are you emotionally involved with? So just take this great content and start applying it.
Do something.
Do it now. Just take it. If you're willing and you're able, because you're able, but just you have to be willing to change. And start by giving.
New teachers for new lessons. It's you can't fix this with this. It's got to put new things in, or at least there you have to pay attention.
That's why I call this podcast, it's Mindset Master. It's all about your mindset. Never will change unless you start changing your mindset and have this growth mindset and not fixed mindset. Otherwise, we'll not go anywhere. That's why you need great mentors supporting you and guiding you. And great mentors is not to motivate you. It's just to guide you, to light the way for you. They can give their knowledge, their intellectual mind, but they can't give you their emotions. You should be using your emotions, your authenticity, your person. You have to be honest in doing great results, because you are doing that for you. It's your life. It's one life. It's a limited life. Just have that legacy to keep it. Just don't live that simple life. I'm eating, going to work. That's it. That's life. It's a very limited life.
Go to sleep, get up, start over again. No, it really does. It does need to be. It can be much more fulfilling than most people realize. It's just, but how do I start? Where do I start? And that's why I wrote the Daily Six, so that people could realize just be willing to listen to something new. Be willing to read a new book.
And start wherever you are with whatever you have. Don't wait until, I will wait next week. I will start diet. Tomorrow I will start. Just do it now.
I was talking to
last step. It's amazing. Do it.
That's right. Yes, at least put yourself in a position of openness so that you'll listen, or you'll try, and you'll do, because things like, and again, I'm sorry you even use the word, because it's one of those words I try to knock out of my vocabulary, which is try. Well, I'll try. If I have some time, I'll try. And I had a friend of mine last week said, I thought you said you were going to do some more physical fitness. I'm like, well, yeah, I said that, And they said, well, can you do a plank? Do you know how to do a plank? I was like, and we're on the telephone talking. She's 500 miles away from me. Yeah, I can do a plank. She said, well, then put me on hold and go do a plank for a minute. Right now? Right? She said, exactly. Right now, put me on hold, go do a plank. Come back in a minute and we'll talk about it. And I did. And it was like so freeing that, it's like, I didn't have to put it on my to-do list. I didn't have to put it on anything else, because it was already done. I already just did it. I got the results from it, and it felt better. When we got back on the phone, we were both just laughing, it's see how easy it is to do something that's different, rather than try to do something that's different.
Yeah, that's why we are walking encyclopedias. We know everything, but what we're not doing, because we're filling our subconscious mind with our paradigms, with things that, I'm not saying all the paradigms are bad, but just fill it with success habits, and here the change would start. Just look for success habits and start impressing it one by one, because the paradigm you can't change everything overnight. You've been living like 20, 30 years, 40 years, whatever, just doing the same thing. You're programmed genetically, and more important is how you're programmed environmentally. So how can I start change? Gradually, just do things. But if you say, I can't do things, I'm trying, it's not. You have to be committed. You have to be just stepping out and doing it. Really amazing, Mr. John. How would you love to close this podcast?
Well, I think the simplest thing for me, and I say this when I'm doing a keynote address, is if you don't remember anything, remember, be grateful for all things at all times, and that small changes practiced consistently create dramatic results. So you don't have to fix it today, but just take a step, do one plank.
Yes.
Take one step forward and one step tomorrow and the next day. And as you begin to feel better, nobody's going to have to tell you to do more, because you'll want to do more because of the way in which you feel. So
That's
that's it.
really amazing,
That's it.
because that's life. It's like a rose, it's opening, but if you look at it, you can't see it moving.
Right,
If you touch it, you can't force it to open.
right,
So you have to be looking and changing with it so you can get the results that you really want. So you have to keep it unfolding, and every day thinking in a different way, in a certain way that you should be doing in a better way, better than how you did it yesterday. So if you keep working in that way and working in harmony with the universe laws, I call it the God's laws, this is the best way to get to the success. Always learn. You'll be learning, doing, and
teach.
improving daily.
Right,
You have to be improving daily.
right.
Thank you,
Right.
Mr. John, and thank you for your time. And we're looking forward to have you on another podcast. And thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. I appreciate the time very much.
Thank you.